So the first question I have is from Dr. Eva. Dr. Eva, do you want to ask the question or do you want me to read it?
Yeah, no, that's the question.
Okay.
Thank you, Chair. Congratulations on your election.
Thank you.
Councillors, you will recall that I appeared before this committee on the 28th of January this year when I attempted to get a resolution passed calling for a ban on car parking on Riverside adjacent to the river between the Riverside Bridge and Stourbridge Common. At that meeting, Councillor Whitehead commented, quote, "The scheme that John Richards, he's the county planner, has drawn up with respect to Riverside parking is due to go out to consultation and it is not appropriate for this committee to preempt a decision." I've now had an opportunity to view the scheme which is being proposed for consultation, and I have circulated copies of part of this to councillors. While there's much to admire, especially with regard to the proposal to reconfigure the entrance to Stourbridge Common, the issue of car parking on Riverside north east of Stanley Road remains. As local resident Lynette Gilbert has said, how can this small number, county's words, of linear bays really be deemed more important than one, hundreds of cyclists and pedestrians entering and exiting Stourbridge Common who will have to dodge parking and reversing cars, or two, the risk of more serious vehicle pedestrian accidents, such as the one which happened with the fire service in March last year. So, councillors, a proper consultation exercise would not be take it or leave it, but would be an opportunity for all interested parties to express their opinion on viable alternatives. Removing all parking on Riverside, northeast of Stanley Road, is clearly a viable option, though it's yet to be determined if it would be a popular one. I therefore urge you to adopt the following motion, which is: the East Area Committee is aware of the upcoming consultation exercise due to be taken by Cambridgeshire County Council with respect to parking improvements on Riverside. It urges the County Council to ensure that a full range of viable options is presented for public comment, and in particular that an option is presented for the removal of all car parking on Riverside northeast of Stanley Road. Thank you.
Thank you. Now, I think as this is an Abbey issue, I'd like to ask an Abbey councillor to comment. So, Councillor Johnson.
Thank you, Chair, and congratulations on your elevation, if I can call it that. I understand that John Richards is the officer that you referred to, Dr. Eva, will be continuing to talk to county officers about parking options, as were agreed at the meeting which was held with residents, I think, in late May, which you and I attended. So that's ongoing. That piece of those discussions are ongoing. However, I will inform him, as a result of this motion that you presented this evening, that residents still have concerns about the possible format of the consultation, and request that efforts are made to revise the approach and make things more open, so that considerations can be made to the extent that you have referred to. So I'm very happy to support, in principle, what you're proposing, Dr. Eve.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Eve. Does that answer your question, or is there anything else you'd like to?
Well, I've proposed a motion, so I'm hoping you can adopt it.
Abbey councillors, do we wish to adopt the motion formally as suggested, or simply to go with the conversation? Councillor Blanco.
I have a slight suspicion that the Joint Area Committee of City and County Councils that some of us are on may well be asked to decide in the end what scheme is approved or not approved, as it might be the case. But so I'm conscious that because there is a consultation forthcoming, certainly I, as a member of that, I'm not going to give a view at this stage.
Right. So it sounds as if what we're saying is that potentially having a formal motion here may prejudice what's being discussed at joint area, but nonetheless would we all agree as councillors to give support to Councillor Johnson taking your concerns back to the officers and making a case? Do any of the other Abbey councillors want to add anything to that?
Well, I just wanted to say that surely if we've learnt anything from the City Deal consultations, thank you, surely if we've learnt anything from City Deal consultations, it's that residents want real consultation options. And what, as I understand, is being presented by county is not a series of options. It's a take it or leave it. And what residents would like to see is a range of options that they can have a consultation on. So I don't really understand why you can't take a vote on the proposal that I've made.
The consultation process, as I understand it, will give residents the option, as all consultation processes do, there's just been one on Midsummer Common, to suggest alternatives. It isn't to take it or leave it, there will be a way of saying you want to propose alternatives.
Okay, has anyone else got anything they'd like to add to that? Yeah,
I think what Dr. Reed was asking is it for this suggestion to be put forward as part of one of the options in the consultation, which is slightly different.
I'm reluctant, seeing that you're the novice in the chair, I'm reluctant to make your life hell right now, but I support this. I've not hidden the fact that I support this to residents, and I'm with Councillor Johnson on this relatively agreed. Maybe, I don't know what the option, I don't know the technicalities of how you would put this about. Maybe the people who can't vote on it don't vote, and the rest of us do.
maybe that might seem sorry, I'll put this back on. Yeah, Councillor Hart?
Well, I also support my fellow Abbey councillors, but basically I'm not a traffic engineer. You know, so if the county council, who are obviously engineers and have degrees in such subjects, come up with various different options on consultation, then that's options that are available. So with that caveat, I will support this motion, but basically, it will go to the committee, and they will need to decide. So our powers are limited, and I think that's important that Dr. Eve understands that we ultimately it won't really be our decision.
Okay. So having heard from all the Abbey councillors, which is obviously the key part here before putting it to the wider vote, it sounds to me as if if Dr. Eva is happy for us to include subject to viability somewhere in that statement. Yeah. So a full range of viable options is presented for public comment, and in particular that subject to viability an option is presented for the removal of all car parking. Yes. But on the caveat that of course East Area do not make the final decision, and there may be some councillors who are not able to exercise a vote on this. With that in mind, and on that.
Sorry, Joe, I think it should be made clear when it goes to the county that it is a vote of city councillors, not county councillors.
Yes, it will only be the city vote. Okay. With that in mind, those councillors that are able to vote, who supports that motion in its proposed amendment? Okay, so that is carried by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Any against? And none against. And any abstentions?
I have abstained because I wasn't part.
Yeah. And another abstention, yeah, so 2 abstentions. 3. Okay, the motion is carried.
Thank you.
So if you could ask the first one now, that would be great.
So also on the Stourbridge Common end of Riverside, I think it's not appropriate to only consult the immediate local residents to develop the plans in the way that's happened. I've made a Freedom of Information request to see what councillors have been discussing with the immediate local residents, and part of the plans include changes to the gate to Stourbridge Common, include dualling the cycleway there to have 2 cattle grids and to have 2 pedestrian gates. So what I'd like to know, you've spoken about what's going to happen about the parking element, what's going to happen about the gate element next? Is that going to be part of the same consultation?
Okay, this is a real, lots for Abbey councillors in this. Would any Abbey councillor like to chip in?
Well, as Mr. Taylor knows, because he would, there were 2 separate projects, but it was decided, and they came from 2 separate allocations of money. But the officers from both the city and the county councils decided that it would make sense if they were actually co-joined, because they kind of complemented each other. So I would expect that they would be part of the same consultation. It seems logical. I mean, as was mentioned earlier, we're still discussing the finer detail about how the consultation is going to work. and what will be presented. But it's, as I said, they're conjoined projects, so I would assume that they would, and they complement each other. So I would assume that it would be part of the same consultation as the one in respect of parking.
Okay, before I throw it out, are there any other Abbey councillors? Councillor Roberts.
Just in terms of some, just in terms of some background on elements of this, there was, I think the gist of originally we were improving the fence for a range of reasons. One of them was to improve disability access to Stourbridge Common, and as it was developed, the initial thoughts on it, it was agreed that this wouldn't necessarily be, it could work in conjunction with improving cycling access. The issue being on the left-hand side, if you imagine the gates on the right, on the left-hand side, it's the underpinning was our big concern, to put in an additional gate. Just to bring you up to date on what we agreed in terms of, or I say we've agreed, just to add to Richard, what Councillor Johnson said, is that in an ideal world, you would want to reduce access, vehicle access onto the common there, regular vehicle access. At the minute, my street open spaces crews go through there quite regularly when there's an additional entrance point at a different end, which we don't think is conducive to people who are not only pedestrians but also cyclists using it, and people pushing push chairs and different things to go to the play area there. But I would be surprised if it's not part of the same consultation. I don't think it's the more controversial part of the plan, may I add. But as I say, as you can imagine, they're linked because of where, if you did have parking, would you have the gate on the left-hand side, because that would potentially be the parking space, or would you have access along the bridge at the railings itself for cyclists?
Okay, anyone else want to add anything there? Mr. Taylor, do you want to come back to that?
Well, two councillors think it's a good idea to make it all part of the same consultation. Can we make that happen somehow?
Councillor Roberts.
No reason why I can't.
No, I honestly don't see any reason. I think if 4 Abbey councillors could just chase this up as a combined force, but I agree, it should be. It's quite clearly, holistically, if you look at everything that's going on along Riverside, and there's quite a lot, as Tony or anyone else is aware, somebody lives in the area, it would make sense. So I don't think there's any disagreement on that.
Okay.
It's not really.
Thank you.